Government shutdown. Back in October 2013, when the federal government partially shut down for 16 days, Arizona saw a $27 million drop in spending at its national parks, with $17 million in losses at the Grand Canyon alone. The shutdown was about the battle over Obamacare. Now the budget debate is about the border wall. Cronkite News reporter Tyler Fingert reports from our nation's capital.
With President Donald Trump's 100th day in office looming, a budget battle is brewing.
We cannot shut down the government right now.
The burden to keep it open is on the Republicans.
Come Friday, funding for the government runs out unless Congress approves a replacement. And President Trump is insisting that the budget includes funding for a border wall, an idea that's not winning a lot of bipartisan support.
Particularly given the rhetoric that we've heard from the White House over the past several days, I think funding for the border wall and border security are the biggest sticking point here.
The president tweeting today that the proposal is necessary, writing the wall is a very important tool in stopping drugs from pouring into our country. Still not good enough for the House's top Democrat.
The Democrats do not support the wall. And I think that the Republicans on the border states do not support the wall.
U.S. funding was not part of the promise from candidate Trump.
The American people will not pay for the wall. Mexico will pay for the wall, 100%.
Now the president is saying Mexico will pay us back eventually. With the wall a huge sticking point, experts say the budget showdown could go down to the wire.
The most likely outcome is another short-term spending bill to buy them a little more time, but again, nothing is off the table.
This isn't the first congressional impasse over funding. Lawmakers already passed 2 budget extensions this fiscal year, and they could be heading to a third. In Washington, Tyler Fingert, Cronkite News.
At the time of the last government shutdown, Arizona was home to more than 87,000 federal workers. 40,000 of those were directly affected by the 2-week closure.
With a political stalemate looming in Washington, Arizona's growing progressive movement is looking to change our state's political landscape. Reporter Anthony Mitchell spent the weekend learning about the rise of democratic socialism in the Valley.
I still have a bumper sticker on my car. What is this? The car has not been damaged, but it wouldn't have surprised me.
Sun City retiree Bettina Antle has no problem showing up 6 hours early to be first in line for the Bernie Sanders rally in Mesa, but creating a dialogue with her neighbors can feel impossible.
The Bernie people were hiding in the closets, literally, because when you would mention his name, if I went to the pool or something, people would speak in low voices like this.
It's the opposite for college students like Nathan Clark. He finds it tough to find folks to debate.
Well, Tempe is very blue with the campus on it, so pretty much everybody I know is very pro-Bernie. Very few. Hillary's probably the next second. I know almost no Trump supporters.
At a full house in the Mesa Amphitheater, people were eager to hear DNC Chairman Tom Perez and Sanders speak about a new national unity campaign.
We're gonna stand up, we're gonna fight back.
They're calling the fact that the Affordable Care Act is still in law a victory, and they looked for ways moving forward to capture the enthusiasm that the Sanders camp brought during the primaries.
The newly formed Arizona chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America has taken this enthusiasm to another level. Organizer Jake Bell wants to take the stigma out of the S word.
The idea of democracy is by the people. Socialism is government for the people. And so by the people, for the people, you find that in the Founding Fathers' words themselves, that's what we are.
It was one of several progressive organizations marching for science this Saturday, but they know it's a long walk to legislative wins in 2018. In Phoenix, Anthony Mitchell, Cronkite News.
The Arizona Board of Pharmacy aims to keep controlled substances from getting into the wrong hands. But as Carla Liriano reports, one of their methods is raising privacy concerns.
The board has rolled out new monitoring programs in recent years to keep pills out of the hands of addicts. But it also has an alert system to send out details on fraud attempts at pharmacies. Anyone can sign up for these alerts on the board's website. Teresa Sickler owns and runs Melrose Pharmacy in Phoenix. She uses the state pharmacy board's Controlled Substance Prescription Monitoring Program to curb prescription fraud.
When a patient comes into the pharmacy, especially somebody we haven't seen before, we'll check their history. So we'll be able to see if they've gone to other pharmacies, if they're, like how recent was the last controlled substance prescription they got.
She says using the database is an important part of her job. However, she doesn't like what comes next. The alerts can include full names, addresses, phone numbers, and physical descriptions of those suspected of prescription fraud.
There is no regulatory process around a fraud alert. It is just it's a communication tool that we use, and a pharmacist has to use their judgment call to utilize that information we send to them. That's all it is, really.
While that brings up privacy concerns, the board says it's an essential part of the system.
We do have to have identifiable marks. So if there's a Miss Jones going around or Mr. Jones going around passing fraudulent prescriptions, there's a lot of Mr. Joneses out there. So if we can't connect the dots and we can't identify that that's the person, then the fraud alert won't serve any purpose.
They even used to have social security numbers, but the pharmacy board removed those last fall after an interview for Cronkite News investigation into opioid abuse in the state.
A lot of times these fraud alerts come through and then they go out without proper vetting. It came to our attention that this was an issue, and as soon as we were notified of it, we took action and took out that information.
Stickler's afraid that detailing those incidents will result in more prescription fraud attempts.
It definitely does make me nervous knowing that other people can look into the system. Some of that information should not be out in the public.
And what would convince her to start using the fraud alert system?
I would definitely take patient-sensitive data out of it, or be specific on who can sign up.
For more information on fighting fraud at the pharmacy and opioid abuse in Arizona, check out our full investigation at hookedrx.com. In the broadcast center, Carla Liriano, Cronkite News.
The lights are going out at a popular Valley preschool, not for the summer, but permanently. The Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College preschool has been serving families for decades. Cronkite News reporter Ashley Holcomb tells us why the daycare can't afford to stay open.
Was not the school's in trouble, maybe we can work something out. It was we've decided to close the preschool.
Mindy Schatz chose to enroll her 3-year-old Hannah in the preschool because she could learn alongside children with different ages and learning abilities. Schatz fears that her daughter won't have that same opportunity at another daycare.
By putting her into a daycare, she would be grouped with other 3-year-olds, and she is more advanced than a 3-year-old.
Parents received this letter on the 28th of February informing them that the preschool will permanently close its doors on the 28th of July and included options for guardians to consider. Paul Getteman, Director of Marketing and Advertising for the Teachers College, said the decision came down to money. The school lost more than $400,000 in 2015 and more than $500,000 in 2016. And also spent $546,000 to move the school from campus to its current location. This year's projected deficit is more than $450,000. That totals more than $1.9 million in 3 years. Dean Carol Basile says that closing the preschool is not an easy decision, but they are working with staff to bring the college's expertise in early childhood education to more children in more communities. Schatz said the parents should have had the chance to know about the financial problems earlier so they could have helped brainstorm solutions.
Instead of being an innovator and looking for new ways to make this preschool viable for another 30 years, she has decided to close the school because of money.
According to ASU's website, the university operates 4 other childcare facilities open to the community over several campuses. In Tempe, Ashley Holcomb, Cronkite News.
Education, traffic, farming, and mining are all major parts of Arizona.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we take an in-depth look at community relations all throughout the state in a special report.
And we've been on a lookout for those triple-digit temperatures, if and when you'll see those, coming up next in your full 7-day forecast.
I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Hallelujah, let that bass line move, yes, it's good to be alive right about now. I think I finally found right about now.
Arizona is one of the fastest growing states in the U.S. according to the Census Bureau.
Cronkite News launched a special project to investigate that expansion and its impact on our way of life. Reporter Cassidy McDonald starts us off.
Maricopa County added an average of 222 people per day from July 1st, 2015 to July 1st, 2016, according to census statistics. I spent time with agriculture experts and local businesses around the valley to see how urbanization is affecting Arizona's farming families.
My family came here at the turn of the century, about 1914. We came out here to Queen Creek in 1919. It was all deserts and started farming here. And back then you could apply like a lottery system, get 160 acres and all that.
Steve Sussman went to high school in the Chandler area and admits the effects of urbanization in both Chandler and Queen Creek have forced farmers to adapt to the growing city around them.
Early on, you got a lot of people very upset with dust and noise and airplanes flying overhead because crop dusting. Then we changed the way we farm. We lost neighbors who farmed, and when somebody came to them and said, hey, I'll buy your property, they're like, let's go. That's my retirement. I'm out of here.
Queen Creek's population increased by 680% between 2000 and 2015. Sussman says he changed his farming methods to adapt to the development by creating relationships with the city and new neighbors. He also shifted to growing ancient grains to keep the Hayden Flour Mill business flourishing.
I want to reintroduce a lot of these varieties and start making products out of it. And chefs went crazy.
But other farmers haven't had the chance to adapt. According to a federal agriculture census from 1982 to 2012, Maricopa County lost more than 950,000 acres of farmland. County Farms Bureau Vice President Mark Freeman says that's not recoverable.
The state of farmland in Arizona is at a premium. They don't make any more of it, and that's the hard part. Now, can we take like desert land and create farmland? It's hard to do nowadays because it takes water. We need to appreciate our farm and agricultural industry within our state of Arizona because every county in Arizona is having a difficult time meeting needs of our communities in the agricultural produce that we create. So it's farming, dairy, ranching. It's something in short supply today, unfortunately.
Mark Killian is the director for the Department of Agriculture and says his family has been in farming for more than 100 years and feels there needs to be changes put in place at the federal level so farmers can preserve their land.
I'd be the last person to suggest that we tell people they can't sell their farms. What we have to do as a state, we have to develop a policy somehow, some way that keeps those family farmers on their farm. They're tired of fighting the battle. They're tired of the regulation. They're tired of the federal taxes. They know that the estate tax and the gift tax is such that it's almost impossible for them to pass their family farm from one generation to the next. There are so many barriers to keeping it in the family that they just throw their hands up and sell.
Arizona crops are able to thrive in a way that many other states and countries can't due to the water quality and prime growing season. Killian feels the future of agriculture depends on Arizona recognizing this.
We grow some of the best crops in the world right here in Arizona. When you talk about a world population of 10 billion people by 2050 and the need for farmers to increase their production by 100% with the same amount of water, same amount of land, Arizona, in my opinion, needs to develop a policy that determines that agriculture is important to preserve and protect so that we can meet our moral obligation of feeding the world.
As of last July, Maricopa County had an estimated population of 4.2 million, meaning farmers within the nation's fastest growing county will need to continue to adapt to the effects of urbanization. And while our desert development drives other economic factors, it could be masking a problem in keeping a qualified workforce. Here's Cronkite News reporter Emily Mahoney.
Data suggests that brain drain is a statewide problem. That's when young, educated talent leaves after getting their college degrees. And University of Arizona grads have been the least likely to stay, according to an Arizona Board of Regents report. Pima County, where Tucson is located, is similar in brain drain to other metropolitan counties in the state. Young people fall below or barely surpass the national average in educational levels, even though there are universities in those counties. But the retiree population is very very well educated, which boosts Arizona's numbers, but not its workforce. I interviewed U of A students who will graduate next month. Some said they don't feel like Tucson has enough job opportunities in their fields. Others, like Angelina Elias, decided to stay out of a desire to help spur growth in her community. She will be working in marketing to help brand Tucson as a hip place for millennials to settle. The good news, more recent grads are staying in Tucson and across the state as more businesses relocate to the area and provide jobs. Several of Tucson's biggest employers are mining companies, and reporter Kaylee Nassif dug deep into that industry's role in the state.
Arizonans are familiar with the 5 C's: copper, climate, citrus, cattle, and cotton. But what happens when one of those industries comes to your community? I met with residents of Florence who are fighting to keep copper out of their town.
Copper, yes, it'll be very profitable for somebody, but water in the desert is gold.
When Barbara Manning moved to Florence in 2008, she thought she was in for a peaceful retirement. But her future became a little less certain when 1 year later, the Florence Copper project bought land nearby. Florence Copper is an in situ mine, which means miners will pump a 0.5% sulfuric acid solution into the ground, dissolving copper out of the bedrock and bringing it to the surface.
It's not a traditional mining type of method that you would expect to see in Arizona or actually around the world. It's actually a very unique type of mining.
Florence Copper isn't the first to try in situ mining here. Aging wells stand as a reminder of another company's 90-day test on the land some 20 years ago, a project that never moved forward.
It really did prove that the in situ method worked here at this very rare copper deposit here in Florence. They were able to recover the copper in a very environmentally responsible and economically feasible way.
Florence Copper says the solution has a similar pH to that of a common household vinegar, but that's where some Florence residents are concerned.
The liquid will migrate. So it's not a closed system, and some of it is going to escape, and when and how long it takes to contaminate the water is uncertain, but it will do it.
Residents aren't the only ones concerned. The town of Florence has been involved in several lawsuits to stop the mine as well.
Since the legal actions by the town have commenced about 4 years ago, the town has spent on average of $297,000 per year.
For some residents like Manning, the money isn't an issue.
Well, I don't look at it as fighting Florence Copper. I look at it as they are working to protect our water and our property values.
Of the 19 permits Florence Copper needed to start a 2-year pilot program, all are in place. All that's left is waiting on appeal of its Environmental Protection Agency permit. The company hopes to start its pilot test by the end of the year, but residents like Manning don't plan on giving up.
This is a foreign company. When they're done, they leave. We stay.
Florence Copper is just one of the 5 proposed copper sites across the state. 2 others are also in situ, while the other 2 are pit mines. All are in different stages of the permitting process. And industry isn't the only thing growing in the state, so are backups on highways. Reporter Lily Altavina has the story.
As Arizona grows in population and popularity, commute times have grown as well, and roadways across the state are getting busier. According to the 2015 Urban Mobility Scorecard, Phoenix commuters spend an average of 51 hours stuck in traffic every year. We rank 13th nationally, just ahead of Philadelphia. That number is calculated by examining delays during peak times in urban areas. But an area in the state that's not urban is also experiencing traffic problems. Sedona is a town of 10,000 people with around 2.8 million tourists visiting every year, according to data from the Arizona Department of Transportation. And when it comes to the roads, that massive infusion of tourists into such a small town presents a problem. Every year, millions of people flock to Sedona for the stunning views, the shopping, and the great hiking. And many of them get stuck in traffic.
I doubt if there's another town that gets the volume of tourism that we do, so we get an awful lot here. It is a challenge. It will remain a challenge, I'm sure.
It's a problem the small town is confronting. Sedona City Council commissioned a firm to study traffic patterns throughout the area. Now, the firm is pitching new ways to ease congestion.
They would eliminate some of the left turns that they think are now causing traffic backups in Uptown. So that's another possibility.
Annalie Hammond owns a gift shop in the popular Uptown Sedona area. One of the the most crowded parts of town. She's seen the city transform over the past decade, and she's seen traffic pick up, trickling down to the tourists who support her shop.
Traffic is at times a big frustration, not only for the locals, but for our tourism as well. You know, they're excited about getting here, and then they get in this line that takes 45 minutes to an hour sometimes to get into town.
Mayor Sandy Moriarty says there's a lot of suggestions to fix traffic, but there's no silver bullet, especially when it comes to the road through Oak Creek Canyon, which isn't controlled by the city.
We will never have a 4-lane highway in the canyon. It's going to continue to back up. Then getting through uptown, that part of it we can do something about.
Sedona City Council and Mayor say they could be making decisions to ease traffic this month. If you're interested in learning more about the state's growth, our full Development in the Desert investigation is online on cronkitenews.azpbs.org. There you can see our multimedia examination of a growing state. On behalf of our entire Special Projects reporting team, I'm Lily Altavina, Cronkite News.
Beautiful weather has taken over the valley and is expected to stay.
Chloe Ranshaw is in the Weather Center with our full forecast.
That's right, and we have been on a lookout for those triple-digit temperatures, and while we haven't seen those yet, just a high of 92 degrees today, we have seen a lot of wind up to 20 miles per hour across the valley. As for your temperatures, we're seeing 90 degrees in Phoenix, 91 degrees in Tucson, 64 degrees in Cholo, and again 90 degrees in Lake Havasu. Taking a closer look, we'll see those temperatures at 93 degrees in Maricopa, 92 degrees in Glendale, and 87 degrees in Whitman. As the sun sets, things will cool off just a bit later today. We'll take a look at this here, 79 degrees in Laveen, 78 degrees in Sacaton, 82 degrees in Phoenix, and 76 degrees in Surprise. As for your rest of the week, again, we won't see any triple digits through the end of the week. We'll see 88 degrees tomorrow, clear skies, 90 degrees on Wednesday, and 91 degrees on Thursday with a small chance of that cloud cover. As for your weekend, it's pretty cool here for Arizona. We'll see 85 degrees on Friday, 83 degrees on Saturday, and 89 degrees on Sunday.
It's no secret that golf is a huge deal in Arizona.
But unfortunately, not everyone has the opportunity to tee off at one of the many clubs our state has.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how city courses are on par with providing affordable golf.
Heaven knows you're a dreamer. Don't hide it from anyone. Don't hide it from anyone.
Revenue has been dropping for 3 years at 6 Phoenix-owned golf courses. Reporter Allison Gargaro visited the city's Maryvale course to see what the city is doing to chip away at the financial deficit.
People began teeing off at the Maryvale golf course in Phoenix back in the 1960s. The goal was to provide residents with more affordable rounds of golf than at resorts and private clubs. Many people first picked up a club in this West Phoenix neighborhood, including Councilman Daniel Valenzuela.
I would have never had an opportunity to learn to golf had it not been for a city course.
Phoenix owns 6 golf courses open to the public. 4 are in the red. Those losses reached thousands of dollars in 2015, according to the city.
The overall number of what's being subsidized today is about $133,000 for all 6 courses, and now some are making money, some are not making money.
But 2 other Phoenix courses brought in more than $400,000 in 2015. The city partnered with 2 colleges, Grand Canyon University and Arizona State University, to reverse some of the losses. ASU now operates the Papago course, and GCU invested $12 million into renovations of the Maryville Golf Course and Clubhouse. Grand Canyon staffs the course with GCU students.
Well, we have about 40 students who work between the golf shop and the restaurant and actually the maintenance. So students are involved in all aspects of the golf course, along with what many of our golf management students are also involved and work in the day-to-day operations.
Work here at the golf course, and I love it. I basically live here.
The university investment is more than a financial turnaround. Renovations are driving more golfers to the courses.
You never know, the next Tiger Woods may come out of Maryville because they had an opportunity to pay a few bucks and walk the course and learn. In Phoenix, Allison Gargaro, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Next time on Antiques Roadshow, how did this guest photo of a boxing legend survive his childhood?
When I was around 8 years old, Cassius Clay lived in our neighborhood.
This is one of his fighting promotions. He personalized it to you.
My mother had it in the drawer. She put it in the drawer and kept it in a pretty pristine condition.
I hope you thanked her.
Find out more about the photo next time on Antiques Roadshow from Virginia Beach.
Tonight at 7 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on